That's neverforgottenapparel.com.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today. Diathrive is so convinced that you'll love their service, they're offering your first month of supplies free. Simply type the code DOC, D-O-C, at checkout. Diathrive.com. That's D-I-A, thrive.com.
Have you done it? You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror?
I'm one of those people you don't want to see naked.
Yeah, most of us. But I mean, you look and you're going, what the?
I know.
How did I get to whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson and Brad Staggs to tell you about a different way to shed those pounds. This is brand new tech. It's only been around for a couple of years or so. It was based on research from the University of California that said there's a molecule called OEA that's found naturally in your body. It produces it in the Mediterranean diet, that when taken in concentrated amounts, it will actually make you feel fuller and boost your metabolism.
I've lost about 10 pounds so far.
It's amazing.
It really is cool.
A company said, we can take this to market and make this great product that'll help you. It's called Riduzone, RIDUZone.com, RIDUZone.com. It's Brad's worked. It's worked for Brad's, worked for me, countless other people. Go to Riduzone.com and try today. You're going to love it. Riduzone.com. Remember that, RIDUZone.com.
As always, just in the nick of time, man. It's a good thing that camera's not on any earlier. You'd see me running around here like a chicken with his head cut off. Good afternoon. This is Food Biz Pro Patrick Mosier. It is Monday already. Man, where did the weekend go? I'd tell you about our weekend, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I'll just leave the glass of water there and get right into the headlines. Well, I don't know if you guys follow the news, food news. There's dozens of crazy stories in the news each week about food, beverage, culture. And being that I was researching and looking for some unique stories today, I came across a couple, mostly relating to alcohol. One of the really cool stories I came across is the State University of New York in Cobleskill. They took some bottles of beer from a shipwreck in 1866, and they've decided to try and recreate this beer. And I was like, how do you do that? I mean, did they drink the beer? Was there a label on the beer that told them what it was? Anyway, so they took this beer from 1866, they uncorked it, and believe it or not, someone actually tried the beer. So the owner of the Sirius Brewing Company, his name's Bill Felter. He and some of the students from SUNY tried the beer. They smelled it. They tasted it. And I was thinking, oh, man, are these guys going to get sick and die? But they didn't. A couple days later, they were still fine. What they're trying to do is figure out what kind of yeast, what kind of hops. They said it smelled like barley wine. But I thought it's completely fascinating. They're taking a wine from, 150 years ago and trying to figure out how they made this. It's not, I'm sorry, wine. It's not wine. It's a beer. Trying to discern exactly what this is. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And this isn't the first time. There was, this is actually 133-year-old wine, but there's another beer that they found in a shipwreck off of Tasmania, and they were actually able to recreate that, and that was a 220-year-old beer. 220-year-old beer recreated in a laboratory through some simple testing. I think the biggest thing that they're trying to figure out, according to the article, and this is on the dailygazette.com, is that they were trying to figure out what the yeast was. Because the yeast, we won't go into the technical part of the brewing, but it's a huge factor in how much alcohol it generates, the flavor profile, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I'm going to keep my eye on this story. It was pretty cool. This is the SS Oregon. And again, this shipwrecked in 1866 off the coast of Long Island, just east of Long Island. And they're going to try to, or 1886, but they're going to try and recreate this beer. I thought that was pretty fascinating. Now, the next story is even better because it talks about storing whiskey. So I don't know about you, but I have not a huge whiskey collection. I have a couple of scotches, a couple of bourbons, one Japanese whiskey, and a couple oddballs here and here, some blends, things like that. And I came across this article talking about, how do you store your whiskey? Well, I didn't know you're supposed to store your whiskey. I thought you're supposed to drink it. I mean, isn't the best thing to do when you get it, open the bottle, drink some, wait a couple days, drink some more? Anyway, according to vinepair.com, that's Vine, VINEPAIR.com, there are 4 things actually that affect the whiskey long term. I didn't know that. I guess there are 5 actually. So the first one is light. Now this one makes sense. Light affects just about everything. One of the reasons that they say not to buy milk in a plastic carton is because the light basically kills a lot of the nutritional the nutrients in the milk. So light definitely affects all sorts of things. If you notice, medicine bottles are always kind of brown. They're never clear. The old medicinal bottles, like from the apothecaries, when they used to mix things and they were either liquid or they were custom blended, then they were always brown. And actually, when you're in a chemistry class, if you use things like magnesium, actually any of the chemical compounds are stored in brown bottles. So light obviously affects it. The biggest thing in this is it degrades the whiskey's flavor. And I mean, that's why you drink the whiskey. Besides for the effect is for the flavor, so that you can pair it with whatever you want, or it has the right flavor profile in a blended drink, if that's what you're having. Now, air is the second one. Air makes sense as well because oxidation pretty much affects everything. You ever had a wine that's been sitting out on the counter for like a week without a cork in it? It doesn't really turn into vinegar, but it starts to sour. It loses a lot of the flavor profile, and it's not very. There's no depth to it, right? It's just kind of flat. Well, what happens is when the oxygen starts to blend with the components, the chemical compounds in a wine or any other spirit, then you start to lose, first and foremost, the aromas, and then secondly, the flavor gets really flat. So it's really important that you store them in an airtight container. And again, the first one is keep them away from light. A lot of whiskeys come in a clear bottle. So if you store them in a place with bright light and don't put the cork back in, or the topper, then it could be a real problem. All right, so temperature, I didn't know that would be that big a factor, but I would suppose beer doesn't do well in the car. Wine doesn't do well in the car in the summertime if left in there. Whiskey probably wouldn't either, but they're saying 55 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty much the perfect cool and consistent temperature for whiskey. I mean, I think it's probably about 75 in the storage cabinet where I keep mine, so I probably either need to move them to a cooler room or just not worry about it and drink them faster. 55 degrees, I got to remember that. All right, so position. When you store when you get a bottle of wine and you store wine, you keep it on its side. There are a couple of reasons for that. It keeps the cork wet, so the oxygen, it keeps it expanded, so then you don't get any air leaking into it, which causes, of course, the oxidation. But it says whiskey is actually best standing upright. I'm not sure why, but if it's at least 40% by alcohol by volume, then it should be standing up. Now it says here we go. If the liquid stays in continuous contact with the cork, then the cork degrades rather quickly, and that then affects the taste of the whiskey. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen wine do that before. It's an older bottle of wine. They may have some problems with if you've got a little tiny leak in it, and then when you go to open it, it's got this really odd flavor. It's not really corked, but it does really affect the flavor. But with whiskey, I mean, that makes sense. The alcohol, it's just the high alcohol content's could affect the cork. So, all right, the last one is time. So whiskey, it doesn't have any tannins or anything like that, so it doesn't mellow over time like wine does. It doesn't age, right? It doesn't get deeper, richer. The flavors don't mellow out. It's pretty much what you get when it's put in the bottle is what it's meant to taste like. So aging it doesn't necessarily enhance it. So if you keep a 12-year-old bottle for 100 years, it's always 12-year-old whiskey. It doesn't change. So it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't affect the flavor, but in a negative manner, but it also doesn't enhance the flavor. So anyway, I just say, open the bottle, drink the whiskey, buy another bottle. So anyway, So, okay, this next story is pretty funny. I was looking through, this really caught my eye because, first and foremost, I really don't care about the semantics of this story. It's about a vegetarian, or I mean, a completely vegan cheese store, I believe in London. Yeah, it's the UK's first vegan cheesemonger opens, and dairy farmers aren't very happy about it because they're using the C word, literally the cheese word. What really caught my eye on this, I saw the picture. It's, fromage in French is obviously the word for cheese, but this is fromagerie, La Fromagerie, which I thought was classy name. I love when there's a good wordplay. Like mixed metaphors with Cheryl Heisler, who does our drinks on Fridays and Saturdays. But anyway, this is La Fromagerie. They open in South London. It's a completely dairy-free cheese shop. Now, when you talk about dairy-free cheese, how do they do that? It's not you. They don't take dairy milk and then put rennet, which is the agent. It's basically a bacteria that eats the I don't know which protein it is in the milk, but then it solidifies it, right? Basically, right through the process anyway, through the process, it eats it, turns it into cheese. That's what happens. You don't really want to know the whole rest of it, but it's pretty cool. They actually have dairy-free cheddar, dairy-free camembert, mozzarella, halloumi, on a consistent basis, and then they have a whole bunch of other flavored cheeses. So apparently, though, the dairy farmers are upset that they're using the word cheese at all because they're saying that it's misrepresentation, I think, or false advertising because you're labeling vegan goods as cheese. All right. Why do people get their panties in a bunch about these little things? Is this really going to take away so much business from the dairy farmers, the association, that they need to be so upset about? Don't they have better things to do? Milking their cows, cost controls, preventing mad cow disease. I don't know, but really, it gets ridiculous when we get down to the nitty gritty. Now, I do have a pet peeve about certain things, which maybe it's just as ridiculous. One of them being when you call something made of vegetables meat. All right. I gotta think now. Can I criticize this without criticizing myself for that particular story? I think when they really try to make it like meat, well, they're trying to make this like cheese, and I don't know. I got to think deeper on this one. But anyway, this is a really cool. If you go to, this is actually the Mirror it's the Mirror website, mirror.co.uk. The cheeses are beautiful. They basically use soy milk to mostly in these plant-based cheeses, but it's awesome. I mean, these are really, really, really beautiful cheeses. They have several with different textures, colors. There is one here that just looks like a block of it actually looks like a block of pate. It doesn't look like cheese at all, so I'm not sure where that comes. But they do have one in here that looks just like blue. It's the camembert that's in there. That looks really nice. Anyway, I'm going to have to check this out and see what happens with that. I wonder if there's a place here to order vegan cheese. I might have to try that. I have to start trying some of the really cool stuff that I find online. We don't have a really great kitchen here. We're working on building a kitchen set over the next few months, but if you find some unique products out there, mention them online or shoot me an email at, actually shoot it to info@spoony.com, or you can send an email to chefpatrick@spoony.com. If you find any really cool, interesting products that we should try on the air, you can actually post them up on the Facebook page as well, on Spoony Radio. And let me know. I'd like to try some things that I don't have to cook. Now, I can heat things in the microwave. I could boil if I needed to. But if you find some prepared products that are pretty neat, and you're welcome to send them in. But if you just simply send them to me, put the name up there and maybe make sure you can get a picture if you can, that'd be great. All right, so today is actually National Drink Wine Day. So we got a little bottle of wine right here, 14 Hands, great gift. Thank you very much. This is a 14 Hands 2015 Merlot from the Columbia Valley. I love wine. I like reds mostly. I don't drink a whole lot of wine because, as our friend running the board for me today, Mr. Matt Locke says, if I drink too much, I just feel like crap the next day, which is absolutely true. So we're going to open this up. If you have a day off, you're home, or you're home early, then, go ahead and open a bottle of wine, pour a glass, and raise one with me. All right. So I'm going to grab a glass here. I always got to bring extra glasses. The guys will come running in. I want some wine. I want some. All right. I got to get a new shtick because this drinking on the air almost every day is killing me. My liver can't handle it anymore. But anyway, so 14 hands. This is a good, moderate priced Merlot. What's interesting is Merlot. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sideways, but that particular grape, the Merlot grape, was pretty much killed by that one movie. It's interesting how trends in food and beverage can be influenced by the movies. Not as much as I see in other tech areas, but that one movie in particular was incredibly powerful in hurting the California wine business for several years. I mean, that movie's got to be a decade old or more. And Merlot is just barely starting to make a comeback. And I don't know why I got such a bad rap to begin with. It's a good wine. It's a more neutral wine, right? It's not as earthy as Pinots. It's not as big, bold, and sometimes sweet and tannic as some of the bigger Cabernets. It's not as, one of the things is the Zinfandels are one of my favorites. Big, fat, red Zinfandels. All right, Waze opened and it's giving me directions to somewhere. Anyway, I just need to turn the phone off when I come in. I love Merlot if it's the right Merlot, and it pairs well with everything. It can go with everything from a really big, heavy steak to something that's a little more neutral, like a little creamy, even like beef tips and rice. That could be in a not just a red wine sauce, but that could be in like it's a beef bourguignon. You could do something that has more like a creamy mushroom, and you can put a little red wine in there, but like a creamy sauce with it as well. It just pairs really well. But anyway, what I did find is I found two articles, and they're both by the reversewinesnob.com. That's reversewinesnob.com. And they do some really, really good, some great articles. If you drink a lot of wine, this is a good site to go to because they give you lots of stuff lots of good value wines is really what they specialize in. And as a matter of fact, it's Reverse Wine Snob. Their moniker is wine doesn't have to be expensive to be good. And I agree, it doesn't have to be expensive to be good. And now they're just food. So anyway, they basically had two top 10 lists or two top 20 lists. Top 10, top 20, I don't know. I think it's 10 in each. It's the best white and rosé wines under 20, and then they had the best red wines under $20. So we're going to start with the white wines because, you always start the meal with a white wine first as you get into the heavy food. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, I think. I don't know. The whole food and wine pairing thing, I know how to pair food with wine and wine with food. I think it's less important than people think. We place such a heavy emphasis on you have to have red wine with beef. You have to have white wine with chicken and fish. That's not true. My thought is drink what you like with what you like to eat. It's that simple. It's that simple. So anyway, the best white and rosé wines under $20. All right, so let's see what they have first. First one is Floriana Gruner Veltliner. That's a mouthful. All right, so this is actually from Trader Joe's, which I don't know if you've ever been to Trader Joe's, but they have really good pricing on almost everything. My partner Barry Furiseth, known as our fish guru here, he and I used to supply some value-added seafood products, frozen and fresh, to Trader Joe's and other grocery stores and some other companies in California. But they're really famous for a bottle of wine that started out. They had one, I think they had a white and a red, and it's called $2 Chuck. And basically, a guy named Charles Shaw, a brilliant vintner and winemaker or sommelier, he came up with the idea to buy the excess these excess wines that were left over at the end of bottling. They didn't do the fermentation process. They didn't buy the raw juice and ferment it and make their own wine. What they did is they took these leftovers from all of these vineyards and they blended them to meet a specific flavor profile that they thought they could duplicate year to year. And it is a little bit different year to year because the grapes obviously vary. But now they have like 7 or 8 different kinds. But back to the story. They called it $2 Chuck because it was $1.99 a bottle or $2 a bottle. And so, of course, Charles Shaw, they just shortened it to Chuck. It's brilliant. I think most of their wines now are $2.99 or $3.99, and they have 5 or 6 proprietary. They have they used to just have the red and white. Now they have a Chardonnay, they have a Cab, they have a Merlot, I'm sure. And they have several different ones blended, but really, really good wines for the price. I will warn you, though, because they're so inexpensive, you will probably drink more than you typically would because it's so inexpensive. Just be prepared for the hangover the next day. So, all right, so this first one, and this is a Gruner Veltliner, so it's Gruner, 2 dots over the U, Veltlaner, and I'll post this in just a minute. This is a really nice wine from Hungary. The grape is... Hungary. Hungary makes wine? I didn't know that. Anyway, it's a really nice, crisp, light wine. It's fun to drink, but not fun to say, right? Really hard to say. I'm shocked that Hungary makes wine. I mean, I know every country to some extent probably makes wine, but this is a really nice, light-bodied, fresh, and slightly spritzy wine. So what they're saying, it has a little petulance, which are the little bubbles in the wine. Champagne is not the only wine that naturally has that during the fermentation process produces bubbles, right? So that's called anyway. So the little bubbles are what the spritzy thing is. So, but for $6 for a good bottle of wine, I'm gonna have to try this one. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that one, and so it's Floriana is the company, Gruner Veltliner. All right, next, Kirkland's signature Pinot Grigio, cheap and good. That's another $6 bottle of wine, Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio, it's a good Italian grape. It's a crisper, not buttery grape at all. Well, okay, Chardonnay. It's not buttery because it's the grape. They age it in oak barrels, which causes something called what is it? Some fermentation, lactic fermentation. I don't know. But anyway, the fermentation process makes it taste buttery. It draws something from the wood, which gives it that kind of rich mouthfeel that coats your mouth. So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to try this one. See how this one coats my mouth. Again, this is the ooh, that's nice. That's the 2015 14 Hens Merlot. That's really nice, actually. All right, so this is $5.99, and a lot of Pinot Grigios are really kind of they're watery. They don't have a lot of flavor, and so one of the things they've noted on this one is that it has a really good flavor profile, considering it's such an inexpensive wine, and it's that particular grape. Now, this comes from Kirkland, which is obviously the signature brand for Costco. So I'm guessing this is co-packaged by another company, and they're just slapping a label on it. I'm going to find out because I'm curious what the price difference is between the original labeler is and then what the Kirkland label is. Anyway, that's $5.99. That's Pinot Grigio at Kirkland or at Costco. All right. Number 8. We got 2 minutes 50. All right. Number 8. The Q Collection, Russian River Valley Chardonnay. Now, Chardonnays, I like some, I don't like others. I like more of a French-style Chardonnay. That buttery mouth feel that kind of makes the wine feel thick and kind of lingers, and it gives a little bit of an aftertaste to it. I don't like that. I don't like the whole California barrel-fermented or barrel-aged Chardonnays. They're okay on occasion, as long as they have some crispness to them. They're good for cheeses and fruits and things like that. I like a lighter, crisper wine that tastes more like the Chardonnay grape. But this one actually kind of unites both because a lot of people don't like that oak, right? It's called oaked, and some people don't like the unoaked. They only like it. This is actually right in the middle. So it's kind of uniting the two types of Chardonnay drinkers in one bottle. Apparently it has a little bit of it's malolactic fermentation causes that. That's what it is. I forgot the term. All right. So the malolactic fermentation is a very brief, it's stored in oak for a very brief period of time, which gives you that feel, but it's not enough to overpower the wine and the grape. So again, it's suitable for both. This is, this is actually the best Chardonnay under $20. It was deemed. And, It doesn't give the exact price on this one. I'm going to guess this is probably in the $12 range. That's about right for those. Anyway, we got a minute and a half and go through one more. Number 7. This is one a grape from Piedmont, which is in Italy, and this is. So they're famous for other wines, right? They're famous for like Barolos and Barbarescos, these big, rich, like baked grape flavor, almost not quite raisinish, but getting close to that flavor. But this one is actually called it's a white grape from Piedmont, which is not typical. They're mostly reds. But this is called Recit, R-E-C-I-T. And it's got, I don't even know what the grape is. It doesn't say. It says it's highlighting, showcasing a white grape from Piedmont, but it doesn't tell me. So I don't know. And I'd ask you, Matlock, but you don't drink wine, so not really. He's making the vomit sign. Anyway, that one is okay. That's the best Italian wine for under $20 in the whites. All right. It's break time. Thank God. I'll get my act together. Come back for the second half. No callers today. At the end of the show, I'm going to share my favorite wine story. It's probably my favorite cheese story as well, if you haven't heard it. But anyway, come right back. We'll be back in 2 minutes. See you in a second.
This show and more is available on demand at Spoony.com.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T. and get 15% off your purchase.
Dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could go to find people who think like you do?
Like me, like libertarians and conservatives?
Right?
There is. WeThePeople.dating.
Amazing. What a genius idea. This is a site that you can go to if you're single and you are looking for somebody who you know you're going to think the same way, as for from a political freedom standpoint. If you want to date the right person for you, you'll find them in one place. WeThePeople.dating.
Have you done it? You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror?
I'm one of those people you don't want to see naked.
Yeah, most of us. But I mean, you look and you're going, what the?
I know.
How did I get to whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson and Brad Staggs to tell you about a different way to shed those pounds. This is brand new tech. It's only been around for a couple of years or so. It was based on research from the University of California that said there's a molecule called OEA that's found naturally in your body. It produces it in the Mediterranean diet, that when taken in concentrated amounts, it will actually make you feel fuller and boost your metabolism.
I've lost about 10 pounds so far.
It's amazing.
It really is cool.
A company said, we can take this to market and make this great product that'll help you. It's called Riduzone, RIDUZone.com, RIDUZone.com. It's Brad's work. It's worked for Brad's, worked for me, countless other people. Go to Riduzone.com and try today. You're going to love it. Riduzone.com. Remember that, RIDUZone.com.
We're not solving all the world's problems, but we're bringing people to the table. Spoony.
And we're back. Hola, buongiorno, a tutti. You know what? I took Italian at university. For those of you who don't know, I speak a couple of different languages. I studied German when I was in Germany. Actually, I studied for a few years before I moved there, my senior year. So I speak German fairly well. I'm pretty rusty, but I speak a little Japanese. I was there for several years. Actually, I speak pretty well, probably better than my German. But I tried to take Italian when I was at university, and it was one of those every day, like 2-hour a day classes. That's for 5 credits, and it kicked my butt. Hi, Tom. Anyway, so I remember one thing. When we walked in class every day, we all sat down. The instructor would say, buongiorno a tutti, good morning, everyone. And that was pretty much the only thing I remember. So anyway, that's all my Italian. Okay, so I did a little looking, and I was looking up that grape that they were talking about is actually, let's see here, go back to the right page. It's called Arnis. It's Arneis. Arneis. And it's apparently the key to this. So that was the receipt from Piedmont, Italy. Apparently, it's a 100% Arneis grape from the Roero designated origin of C. I forgot what the C is, but DOCG. It's like a classification of the designated origin, something growing. Anyway, that's where the grape comes from, and you're only allowed to do it in those specific areas. But the wine is aged in stainless steel tanks for 4 months, and then just 1 month in the bottle prior to release. So it's kind of like a Nouveau, actually. Interesting. And it has decent residual sugar. It's got 4 grams per liter. And the MSRP is suggested retail price is $20, but they're saying you can find it as low as $12 a bottle. I got to try that one. I really love Italian wines. I think they're underrated. You know, we tend to think of Chianti, etc., but it's one of my favorites. So the next one is, is this a Portuguese white wine? I believe this might be Portuguese. Yes. So this is a Porto Fidalgo. Portal do Fidalgo. Okay. I have to tell you, Portuguese wines are excellent and they're a good value. When I was in Germany, the family I lived with loved Portuguese wines. And it's called Vino Verde, which is white wine actually. And you'd think it means green wine, but it doesn't. This is about $11 a bottle. And it's actually just a nice, light, crisp wine that has kind of a complex flavor. It's not as light as a Pinot Grigio, but it's not as or as crisp as a Chablis, and it's not as buttery as a Chardonnay. It's kind of all three of those mixed together. It's a really good, versatile wine. If you can find a Vino Verde from Portugal in your local neighborhood wine shop or retailer, I would definitely recommend trying it. And they're typically very inexpensive, around the $12 to $15 price point. Okay, this is a really good one, actually. This next one is a very common wine that's seen on a lot of menus around the country. Chateau Saint Michel Riesling. So you can buy this everywhere. Of course, Trader Joe's is one place you can that it's highlighted. You can get this wine for as low as $7, right? Now, one of the things about Riesling is it tends to be a little on the sweeter side, but this particular, and it has a really interesting mouthfeel, right? It has a thickness to it. I thought I said mouthfeel. Sorry, I don't have a bell in here, but it doesn't have the butteriness that Chardonnay has, the oaked Chardonnays, but it's got a thickness to it, a little bit of thickness to it, which I don't know. It's interesting. It's only with the sweeter Rieslings that you find this, but it's this is really good. Chateau Saint Michel Riesling from the Columbia Valley. It's again somewhere around the 7. I've seen it as high as 10 or 12, but you can get it as low as $7 a bottle. Trader Joe's is a great place to go. And by the way, I'm having Merlot. This is the 14 Hands Winery in the Columbia Valley. This is their 2015 Merlot. I'm glad that Merlot didn't get killed off completely by by the movie Sideways. All right. So the next one is another Kirkland's from Costco. Their signature series, Chablis Premier Cru. Now, Chablis is a very, 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 very specific. I mean, it's a wine that's not, in my opinion, not super versatile, right? It's a very crisp, almost chalky tasting wine. Like it's got a very dry finish to it, and it's very crisp. It's a wine that's very good served really cold. A lot of wines, if they're overly chilled, they don't have the flavor of the wine. It doesn't open up, so you kind of have to warm them closer to room temperature before you drink them, or as you're drinking them. But this one, if you like Chablis, a nice, clean, crisp wine, which I do, they're perfect for cheeses, for things like fish that has kind of a fattiness to it. They're excellent for that. Now, I don't know what the difference between the Premier Cru. I mean, it's going to be that they're best of the best, but I'm going to have to try this one. I've not found a good American Chablis that in a long time. Now, we really can't call it a Chablis because it has to come from that origin, but it's kind of close to an unoaked Chardonnay, but I think with Chablis, it's a little less sweet. The Chardonnay grape has a little residual sweetness to it. All right. Next one, again, that was the signature series from Kirkland, which is Costco, the Chablis Premier Cru. Next is Bonnie Doon, Vin Gris de Cigare Rosé Fantastique. Okay. So this is basically a Vin Gris, Gris, right? De Cigare. I'm curious what this grape is. Okay, so it's 74% Rhone red varietals and 26% Rhone white varietals. So what they're saying here, it's a rosé. So they've taken red grapes, 74% red grapes, and they've taken most of the skin, and and what they do then is they take the red grapes. They don't get the tint that you get with when you typically ferment with the skin, and not just with the skin, but you also add a bunch of sometimes a certain amount of vine to the fermentation process when you're doing red wines. That's what gives that big kind of dry mouthfeel that you get those tannins. But what they do is they remove all that, they strip it all, and they just take the flesh of the grape, and then they're fermenting this with the white style of grapes, 26% white, 74% red. And it's a dry, crisp, fresh, delicious. This is probably an all around what we call a picnic wine, or something that would go with almost anything on the table. Blends tend to be a little more palatable and a little more versatile for the average day-to-day drinker. I highly recommend, a meritage is another word for it, but red or white blends tend to be a really safe bet. This one looks good though. So this is doesn't give the exact price on this, but the Bonnie Doon is a fairly well known vineyard. I mean, there's no reason not to find this at your local shop. Anyway, and this wine's been around. This wine has actually been around for a long time. Last one, nope, 2 left. Number 2, Domaine de Chantarelle, Picpoul de Pinet. Okay, whatever. This is Domaine de Chantarelle, Picpoul de Pinet. So basically, Chantarelle. That's Cantagril, Cantagrills. This is kind of a, if you want to experiment with a new wine, I wish I could pronounce it. Picpoul. That's how it's pronounced. Picpoul. So Picpoul. It's really crisp. It's a really refreshing, high acid wine. So if you're gonna have fruit and cheese, and you want something to cut through that, little bit of sweetness, a little bit of fattiness from the cheese, it's a great wine for that. Another picnic wine, so to speak. This is pretty refined for picnic wine. It's all around drinking wine, but again, paired with something fatty or sweet, this is a great wine to finish that mouthful of food or that meal. And this is from the Languedoc region of France. All right, so I'm not even sure who the I'll have to look and see who the vintner. It's Cantagril must be the vintner. So, all right. Last one. Ooh, this is good. All right, so I love bubbly wines. It doesn't matter if they're a crisp, dry champagne. It can be a lighter. I mean, like a kind of a heavier, sweeter, Italian style sparkling wine. It can be like a prosecco. It can be a California bubbly. Sparkling one, but this particular wine is it's Albrecht Cremant d'Alsace. So Alsace is one of my favorite regions in France. There's a great blend of culture and food. It's kind of a crossroads. The Loire Valley and Alsace is fantastic, but this actually kind of has a hint of strawberry to it. It's called Lucien Albrecht Cremant d'Alsace Brut Rosé. So Brut Rosé, again, it's going to be a Brut style champagne or champagne style bubbly, but it's going to have a little bit of strawberry nose to this. This is number 1 for under 20, and it's untypical that you find a rosé that's really good under 20 or that's rated as the best wine on a list. It just doesn't usually happen. It's typically a Chardonnay or a Pinot Grigio or something like that. Now, red wines. Let's get back to my area of expertise. I mean, I like white wine. I do. I don't drink very much of it, and I actually don't drink that much red wine anymore. But here we go. Number 10, and this is, again, 2018's reversewinesnob.com, top 10 red wines under $20. So the first one comes in from Argentina, and oddly enough, this is the second most planted red variety in Argentina, but it's not something that we're used to having in the United States. The grape is called Bonarda, Bonarda, and this particular vineyard, all right, it's La Posta by Armando, the La Posta Armando, and Bonarda is the grape. So if you look up La Posta, it's a really interesting story. Argentina has some of the best rated wines, and I think the price point is excellent. There are a lot of South American, Central American, well, South American wines right now, especially Chile, and well, Chile. That's pretty much what you get. But they're getting expensive, right? They used to be a hidden gem. They're about half the price of California wines or less, probably, at least half the price or less of the cost of a good bottle of French wine. Which always astounds me. When you go to France, you go to the grocery store and you can find a really nice bottle of red wine in France. Something that here you pay $50 or $60 for. At the grocery store in France, it's like $8, $10. It's ridiculous. So you go to the store, you go to the grocery store, you grab a bottle of wine, a baguette, and some cheese, just sit out in the park, maybe an apple or something. It's feasible to have wine 2 meals a day, or to have more than one bottle at a sitting. Of what we would pay here, it's just ridiculous, the cost of wine here from France. I'm sure it's tariffs and whatnot, but anyway, so that's La Posta is the brand, Armando is the name, the actual that line, and then Bonarda is the grape. All right, next, J. Bouchon Pe Viejo. All right, so this is I've never had this one actually, but this is a it's a very old grape actually. This varietal, and it's the varietal is called Pais, P-A-I-S. It's this is actually 100-year-old vines in Chile, and but it's a very small vineyard, and they have no name recognition. So the bottle's only like $15. All right, and it's Pais Viejo, P-A-I-S Viejo, V-I-E-J-O. And I'm gonna have to try that one. So J. Bouchon is the vintner. Interesting. 100-year-old vines. Eventually the vines die. You have to replace them. But I have an interesting story and a concept, or a theory about why the French hate us so much. It has to actually do with wine. But we'll talk about that another time. It has to do with us killing all their old vines back when we started taking grapevines from California and sending them to Europe. This thing called phylloxera, this little mite that lives on the rootstock, it killed all the old vines because they weren't immune to it. So anyway, it's a long story, but it's really interesting. The next one is Locations E. It's funny. The bottle's really cool. The label just has a big E on it. And that's a Spanish wine. That's basically a really nice blended red wine. Countries like France and Spain, they have a lot of blended wines, or what we call table wines. Instead of worrying about a specific grape, I think, again, these tend to be very balanced. They go with a lot of things. This is a really interesting mix of Grenache or Garnacha, Tempranillo, and Tempranillo is kind of a really rich, again, that baked grapey flavor. Monastrell, which you don't hear much about. Carignan, again, another one, and then it's Priorat is the Priorat, Homillo, Toro, Rioja, and Ribera del Duero. These are all the wines that are made from that. So they take all these pre-blend or these pre-mixed wine or these pre-fermented wines. Slow down, Patrick. And then they blend them into a really nice balanced red wine. Again, this is just called E. It's Locations, and it's just a red Spanish table wine. I have to try that one out too. All right, next one is Vigilance Cimarron Red Blend. Again, the red blends, see, they're becoming more popular now. You've seen a lot of the blends making the list. All right, this one is let's see. I'm trying to look at what the mix of grapes is on this. It doesn't say exactly, but it's probably going to have. They all come from Lake County, California, And it does not say what the blend is. I'm going to say there's probably Grenache, Cab, Merlot, and Malbec. I'm going to guess. I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess. Next one, number 6, Quinta de la Rosa Douro Red. I've actually had this one before. This is another Portuguese red wine, a Portuguese wine. This one happens to be red. It's a great blend. It's, again, under 20. It's a blend of Touriga Nacional, Franca, and Roriz. And they're from the Douro region. Blended wines, again, I really like blended wines. This one's, it's going to be big and bold, but a little bit fruity in the front. It's a great table wine. It's just something to have with almost any meal. You're just going to sit around, have some fruit, cheese, friends over, just talk about the weather, small talk, if you have time for that kind of thing. All right, number 5, Kirkland. Again, Kirkland made the list again. Kirkland's signature Rioja Reserva. Now, Riojas are really what put Spain on the map as far as wines go. They can be a pretty tannic wine, and they're kind of like a big, bold cab. They have a different finish, though. They're not quite as long. The flavor isn't as long lasting. But if you've never tried a Rioja, for $7 a bottle, I would go get a membership at Costco, go buy a bottle of the Kirkland's Rioja Reserva, and try it out. It's a great wine to have with maybe a big heavy pasta dish, something with Mediterranean flavors, or like a big steak. Probably not anything. I would go with a leaner steak on this one. If you're having a big ribeye, I would go with a big cab just to kind of match the fat and the flavor and everything. It's a little more well-rounded flavor. But for $7 a bottle, I think I need to go buy one. All right, number 4. Oh, 10 minutes. Hurry up, Patrick. Fiudi di San Gregorio Rubrato Angelico. Okay, I don't speak Italian. So this is Rubrato Anglianico Fiudi di San Gregorio. Man, I feel like Doc in here this week. Him and his culinary terms. All right. This is a very inexpensive red wine from Italy. And yeah, that's it. I don't know. Haven't had it. Sounds good, though. Number 4. Number 3, Chronic Cellars Purple Paradise. Now, I'm looking at this label, and it looks like it's a label off of a kind of an avant-garde brewery. It's got a skull, some dice, but I guess I'll have to try it. It's under $20, and it's a big Zinfandel. So it's a Zinfandel-based wine. It is blended, though. I love Zinfandels. If you have never tried them, you're more of a cab drinker. I think you can get the similar finish and flavor from a big Zinfandel. Not quite as tannic as the cabs, though. All right. Next one, number 2, Gerard Bertrand Minervois. This is Syrah and Carignan. Huh. That's an interesting blend. It's from the Languedoc-Roussillon region of France, and it's a blend of, Syrah and Carignan. That sounds good. So you're going to have here Syrah, if you haven't had them, can be a so this is not Petite Syrah, this is Syrah. It's can be a little earthy, it can be very fruity, and that kind of sounds good. This is like a mix between a big heavy red and a lighter fruitier red. But Gerard Bertrand Minervois, Minervois 2013, that came in at number 2 at less than $15 a bottle. I'd try that one. Okay, last one. La Posta Pizzella Malbec. Okay, Malbec has become a really popular wine in the last few years. This is an Argentinian wine, which, Argentina, a lot of the wines there are, they're not well known yet. And so they tend to be a really great value. This is a single grower, single varietal. So it's one vineyard, one single style of grape, so one single variety of grape, and they only have one grower. So it's one vintner, one vineyard, one grower, one variety of grape. This isn't common in a lot of the smaller wine regions. What they tend to do is they tend to blend the grapes, or they tend to purchase the juice from other growers because you just can't produce enough. But the fact that this is a single wine made at a single varietal from a single grower in a single vineyard, I would definitely try this one out, especially from Argentina. And if you haven't had Malbec, it can have kind of a slightly different aftertaste, but it's definitely a great one of my favorites to have with a big pasta, something with a cream sauce, or maybe kebabs, something like that, beef kebabs. It's really good. If you haven't had Malbec, try it out, especially if you're a Cab or Zin drinker. And hey, go back to Merlot. It got a bad rap, okay? There's no reason that we shouldn't be drinking, and prices have dropped in the last 6 or 7 years because of that movie Sideways. So, all right. I told you I'd tell you my favorite wine story, and I can't remember most of the great wine nights I've had because I probably drank too much, but there was a gentleman, Stephen Hollingshead. It was the first job I had in Houston, and we had a company called BringDinnerHome.com. This was it was the first home meal delivery service I'd ever heard of, right, where they deliver all the components, and you cook yourself. They send the ingredients. They send the the instructions, and you basically do what you do. You throw it in the pan, or you heat it. You boil it in the water. You put it together on a plate, and you eat it. Well, this company, BringDinnerHome.com, we were billed as we shop, chop, and drop, and you get to just enjoy it. Now, Stephen Hollingshead was brilliant. A lot of these companies, they just drop the box at your door. So what happens if it disappears? They ship it overnight, right? FedEx or UPS. We actually we did it locally. We had custom designed trucks to keep the food cold. Each order that you called in before midnight, and midnight was the cutoff. We started production at 10 p.m. And so say that you ordered, chicken marsala. So what I did is, I'm going to close this now. We would hand trim 2 chicken breasts for two. Hand trim two chicken breasts and vacuum package those. Then we went to slicing mushrooms. We sliced enough mushrooms for that. We bagged those for you. We made a partially reduced veal demi-glace and marsala sauce, and then we let that cool and we bagged that for you. We had that made a lot of times. We just weighed it out, and then we did what else was in there? Mushrooms. We didn't. Okay, here are a few things. You had to have olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper. That's all you needed in your kitchen. Everything else we sent you. So if it was not anything else that was put in any dish, we sent to you. All right. So if that was for the chicken marsala. So if you got oven roasted potatoes, we would, as one of your sides, maybe green beans almondine, we would blanch the green beans. We would send a packet of that we weighed and hand packaged of the toasted. Again, we toasted them for you. You didn't have to do any of the hard work of toasted sliced almonds. And then we would put the green beans, after we chilled them, they'd been partially cooked, in a boiling bag, basically. So you could either boil them in the bag, you could heat them in the microwave, or you could saute them in a pan, or just put them in hot water, take them back out, and then dress them however you wanted to. So at roasted red potatoes, same thing. We roasted potatoes, 90% done. They had garlic, rosemary, salt, pepper, thyme. And then we would chill them, and then we would package those. You could do one of 2 things, or 3 things. You could heat them in the microwave. You could actually boil them in the pouch because the water would not leak in, or penetrate the pouch. And then, you get they weren't as crisp. Or you could, you could just heat them that way. Or you could put them on a sheet pan in the oven at 425 and bake them and get crispy. So all this stuff came to you, and a dessert. It was like, I want to say dinner for 2 was like $18.50 or something, which is ridiculously cheap. At a restaurant, you'd probably pay, $15, $16 a plate minimum. And even shopping at home, you get 2 hand-trimmed, all natural chicken breast. And then, the time to go to the grocery store, you have to buy a whole thing of mushrooms. You can't just buy what you need sliced for that meal. And everything was perfectly portioned, weighed out, and very consistent. All that was delivered to your door. And here's the cool thing. You didn't need to be there to receive it. And you didn't have to worry about people stealing your stuff, because we gave you a dorm-style refrigerator for $7 a month. So we could put it in your garage with an E-key that matched the crystal in your remote control opener for your garage door. We could open your garage, go inside, and it was we had to put a locking mechanism on these refrigerators, so we could unlock it, put it in, and relock it. And that way, if you did have it on your back porch or front porch, unless they were going to carry the fridge away, then they weren't going to get your food because they weren't going to open it up. All right, so the business is going very well. There were some logistical issues. Pre-planning was unforeseen, this particular issue, and that's that back in that day, it was 2001, almost everybody was on dial-up. And our website was extremely graphic heavy. We had tons of food photos on there. and it took forever for a page to load. So you started placing your order at 10 o'clock. You might not be done until 11:15, and people didn't want to do that. And so not enough people were on T1s, these high-speed access lines. Anyway, about halfway through the life of the business, we gave away a dinner for 10 people to a lucky winner. It was right after Christmas. I think we did it in January, February, or it was March. It was March. So this lucky winner, a person in River Oaks in Houston, won this dinner. And Stephen and I went and did this dinner for like 5 or 6 hours. We were there, and we'd done like 5 hours of prep work before that. We made a big meal. We did tenderloin with red wine demi, and we did these wonderful roasted potatoes, like Lyonnaise potatoes, but we did a whole pan of them, cut them out in like 3/4 moon shape. So then you pan-seared them, heat them in the oven, and they stood up on the plate. It was really cool. It stood behind the filet, which you cut in half and kind of put one half upside down so you could see the temperature inside, make sure it was what you wanted. Anyway, we did this dinner. It took forever. We're finally cleaning up. We get like all the glasses are finally in the kitchen. The plates are clean. We've got it all done, and we look around and we're starving. I haven't eaten anything since like 8 a.m., maybe before that. I know Stephen hasn't. And we look at each other, and there's one pound wheel of brie, and we have a bottle of I think a Montrachet, a really nice bottle of red that they had left us, which was opened and it had been uncorked, but no one had eaten. So we just look at our drink. We look at each other, and we look at the cheese. We cut the wheel into 4 pieces. We poured ourselves a full to the brim glass of wine. We toasted, and we proceeded to eat the cheese, just like there were no crackers, no bread, there was no fruit left, just the cheese. But big mouthful of cheese, wash it down with the wine. I'm telling you, the single best glass of wine and the best bite of cheese I've ever had. Now, after that was done, I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't eat all that cheese, and I probably should have had a more balanced meal. But anyway, all right, folks, we're already at the end. Thanks for listening. Y'all know what happened last week or week before. I didn't want to go into it today. It was a rough first half, but it was a good day. All right. Come back tomorrow. I got some really fun stuff. I think I have a caller tomorrow. Oh, I got a guest tomorrow. Cool. I can't let the cat out of the bag. All right. Thanks again. This is Patrick Mosier, the Food Biz Pro. Remember, listen in on Spoony. Oh, go to Spoony.com. And when you click on the Listen Live link, it takes you right to iHeartRadio now. All right. Thanks again. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Ciao for now.
Food, culture, and fun. Spoony. This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Was it treason?